What's up, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Gimme presented by BetMGM. Why the Gimme? You guys know why, because it's good. I'm Jason Sobel from Golf Bet. She's Amanda Rose. We are at the Northern Trust in Jersey City, New Jersey, getting ready for the first FedEx Cup playoff event. He's Justin Ray from the 21st group. He's locked in the Bat Cave, breaking down all the analytics as he usually is. Coming up, as we always do, our perfect portfolios. We're going to spin the betting wheel. We're going to make our ultimate DFS lineup. And guys, before we get too far, let's talk about one bet that we like for this week. Amanda Rose, how are you?
I'm going to go with a little bit of a crazy bet here, and it's not one I'm even mentioning. Denny McCarthy for a top 20. I believe I saw him at 9-1 here in New Jersey on one of the sports books. So I'm like, when he finished tied 15th last week, he got into the FedEx Cup. He needs a top, I think, 15 or top 18 finish this week to advance next week to Maryland. So I like him a lot for top 20 this week. Got some good odds on him.
Amanda just gaining intel out at the Northern Trust. Jay Ray, where are you going?
BetMGM has a play for low Canadian. I'm going to go with Adam Hadwin, plus 350. Needs a big week at Liberty National to advance the BMW Championship. Shot 66 on the weekend in Greensboro. Led the field last week in greens and regulation to win the championship, something he doesn't do very often. The guy more known for his putter and his short game.
I am also going to go with the BetMGM wager that's out there. Jon Rahm, Jordan Spieth, Dustin Johnson, Colin Morikawa to each make the cut. They all have to make the cut. It's only minus 115. I get it. You're giving up the juice a little bit there, but it's four of the world's best players. There's only 124 guys playing. We still have top 65 and ties advance this week. So I really like that play. I think you can hammer that and make some good money on that one. Speaking of which, some of those top players, let's look at the top of this board from BetMGM this week. Jon Rahm comes in at 9-1. He is the favorite on the board this week after not having played. It'll be 32 days since his last round of competition. But as he mentioned to me yesterday, more well-rested than anybody else in the field. It's a very good point from Jon Rahm right there. Jordan Spieth, 16-1, followed by Colin Morikawa. We mentioned him, 18-1. Dustin Johnson, 18-1. Rory McIlroy, there's been some steam, some movement on Rory. His number has moved to 18-1, and Xander Schauffele fills out that top six. He is 20-1. And as they do every week, BetMGM has given us a gimme prop. You can actually bet on this. They have boosted Dustin Johnson's odds. He is, of course, the reigning FedEx Cup champion and won this event at TPC Boston by 11 shots, shot 30 under there last year. So he's the defending champion. If you want to bet DJ at BetMGM, the gimme prop, he is a top 5 wager at plus 450. That's pretty good odds right there. Let's get to our perfect portfolios. And you can see how we did last week. Amanda spotted the field with like, hey, I'm just going to throw out my first guy, wound up withdrawing, and I'm just going to win the last 3 bets.
That's how you do it, baby. That's Joyzy style.
Wow. And I'd like to give a special shout out to one of my bets. Jay Ray did the research on this. I had Russell Henley for a top 5. Russell Henley led for 68, 69 holes in Greensboro. He missed a putt on the final hole to get into a playoff. He lost by 1. That would have cashed every other time in every other tournament in PGA Tour history, except 2001 at Riviera. Emmanuel Canonica had the exact same fate. Russell Henley lost by 1 and finished in a share of 7th place and did not cash my top 5 bet, Jay Ray.
Tough luck, man. Shout out to anyone who had the Canonica ticket back in 01 when you just missed that 6-man playoff at Riv.
Yeah.
I'll have to go back and check the records. I'm pretty sure I had that as well. That would be just my luck. All right, let's get to these perfect portfolios. Amanda, where are you going?
Yeah, so this week I'm going to go a little different route. I haven't talked about Brooks, I don't think, at all in the last 6 months. So we're going to go with Brooksy here for a top 10. He likes to show up for these big events. He played well here in President's Cup 2017, his first appearance in a US team format. So I like him a lot this week. He looks healthy. I think this is a good venue for him. I'm going to do 3 top 20 bets. First is going to be Abraham Answer. I talked to him earlier today. He says he likes the course, his ball striking. You have to hit it well here, and it definitely sets up for him. So I like him a lot this week. He just got his first win 2 weeks ago. So, kid's playing some good golf. Daniel Berger's another guy who played well at this course during the President's Cup. He's a good ball striker, and that's going to serve him well this week. It's really windy out there. He can flight it low. He has all the tools. And lastly, I'm going to go with Canadian Corey Connors, who I hope he's the low Canadian, but whatever. But he's the last guy on my list here, and he's just been playing well this whole season. I have a good feeling about him. He's another ball striker, and I like ball strikers at this course.
Yeah, it's definitely a good course for those ball strikers. And I echo your sentiments on Daniel Berger. He's my favorite play on the board this week. Really good iron player. And the guy's gritty. I just like the fact that he tends to play well in the Northeast, played really well. He was undefeated at the 2017 President's Cup. I know we all remember the U.S. just routing the international team, but only 3 U.S. players won their singles matches on Sunday. Daniel Berger was one of them. So I do like the fact that he's playing well. Guys, I'm a little gun shy, though. After that Russell Henley bet, I'm only going top 10 for Berger, just in case he finishes one shot out of a playoff and finishes in 7th place like Henley did last week. So also top 10 on Jason Kokrak. Strokes gained attitude here in the dirty jersey, I think is going to be really important. Kokrak's got as much attitude as anybody out there. I just like that he can puff out his chest and go out there and play some great golf. Scotty Scheffler is ready to pop. I like guys this time of year who haven't won yet, are still hungry, maybe a little bit younger, have their sea legs under them a little bit. I got him for a top 10. And Jonathan Vegas, he has cashed top 20 tickets in 6 of his last 8 starts, playing some of the best golf of his career. He's got some upside, having won 3 times on the PGA Tour. Really like him for a top 20. And I don't mind if you play him for a top 10 as well, and maybe even better. J. Ray?
So one of the key course statistics I'm looking at this week is approach shots from 175 yards away and further. In 2019, more than 50% of approach shots at Liberty National were hit from that range. That was the 6th most of any course on the PGA Tour. Another course stat I'm looking at, scrambling from the rough, okay? So you add those 2 things together, your leader this season in approach shot proximity from 175 and out, 2nd in scrambling from the rough, Paul Casey. I've got him to have a top 10 finish. I really like that fit of all those different statistics I'm really interested in this week. I've got Harris English as a top 10 finish. I think this is a really good value for a guy who's finished 4th or better in 3 of his last 4 starts. If he's not paired with Bryson on Sunday in Memphis, he likely isn't sped up, put on the clock, and he probably wins that golf tournament. I just think he has the chance to push himself as well over the top in that Ryder Cup conversation here in the next few weeks. I can see him taking big advantage, capitalizing on a career year and making that happen. I've got him to top 10. I've got somebody we haven't talked about a whole lot in the last several months. Charlie Hoffman has played 4 golf tournaments since the beginning of June. He's really easy to overlook, but he's 32nd in the FedEx Cup standings coming into the week. Played really well in the spring. He had a 2nd place finish in San Antonio, 3rd at Colonial. Really good iron numbers across the board. I've got him to top 20. By the way, Charlie Hoffman also on that 2017 President's Cup team that dominated here at Liberty National. And I've got Seamus Power for a top 20 finish. 7 top 20s in his last 9 starts. Favorable numbers from that 175 and out metric, where he's near the top 20 in scoring average. Really strong numbers around the greens this season as well. 73rd in the FedEx Cup. Needs to have a good week in order to move on. I think he'll be motivated to advance. So I think he's a good play at a top 20.
By the way, all 3 of us have mentioned ball striking so far. Billy Horschel told me on PGA Tour Radio today that it's a different wind. It's been about 10 to 15 mile an hour wind over the last couple of days. If that continues during the 4 tournament rounds, it's going to play a lot tougher. And it's a different wind than they've ever seen at Liberty National before. He estimated that we're not even going to get close to Patrick Reed's 19 under winning total from 2 years ago. Could be closer to 12 or 14 this week. I do think the course is going to play a little bit tougher. And speaking of Liberty National, well, if you watch enough of the coverage this week, don't run to the fridge. Just keep watching. You might catch a glimpse of the Statue of Liberty in the background. I don't know. Maybe. We'll see if the cameras can catch it at some point.
Why would you run to the fridge?
Why would you run to the fridge?
That's what you said. Don't run to the fridge.
Don't run to the fridge because you'd miss the Statue of Liberty.
Oh.
Moving on. Some of the winners here: Keith Slocum in 2009, Adam Scott, who's coming off a playoff loss last week in 2013, as mentioned, Patrick Reed 2 weeks ago. And Amanda, you might not get the fridge reference, but hopefully you didn't discuss refrigerators with some of the game's best players who you spoke with on Wednesday about this golf course.
Hey guys, I'm Amanda Rose. I'm alongside friend of the Action Network, Brendan Steele. Brendan, are you excited about this week?
Oh, very excited. I mean, you can't get a better setting than this. Looking at New York City, Statue of Liberty, course is amazing, and obviously a huge event.
I think one of the coolest parts is that, you have one of the largest cities in the world, tons of concrete, basic concrete jungle right there, and then you come over here and you just feel like you're in paradise. So it's really cool coming from the city in the morning, coming out here, and just a beautiful golf course. It feels like you're in the middle of nowhere.
What part of Liberty National fits your game the best?
Yeah, I think you need to strike the ball really well around here. I do think that you can take advantage of the place if you're driving it well and you're hitting irons well, and that's kind of what I've been doing well this season. So I think that fits. A lot of the tee shots, I think there's only a couple that don't fit my eye, which is usually a pretty good sign. So I like that. And yeah, I mean, it's in really good shape too. I think everyone's gonna like that. I don't know if that suits me personally, but I think it suits everybody. So
I think you just have to be really accurate off the tee. I think it gets really complicated if you're playing out of the rough on these greens. There's a lot of undulation. You got to hit the right spots. So definitely being in the fairway is key for this week.
I mean, usually I rely on my driving, so I think that is a key here. I mean, there's a lot of trouble. There's some really narrow tee shots with water and places you don't want to be, and it can get a little windy too. So definitely have to lean on that. And if you drive it in the fairway anywhere, you're normally in pretty good shape.
Good thoughts from them on the course. Good gets by Amanda today on the golf course. So, of course, the FedEx Cup, 3 events, not 4 like it used to be. It's been 3 events for the last couple of years. Staggered scoring for the Tour Championship, as we saw last year. You give Dustin Johnson a little cushion going into Eastlake, well, he's going to be able to take it home. So I think it might be a little bit easier to predict the FedEx Cup winner now that it was in the previous format. So let's try to do it. Amanda, who's going to win this entire thing? Who's getting the 15 mil?
I am going with Colin Morikawa. Now, we've seen other guys when they first year they win a major, they end up winning the FedEx Cup. Now, he didn't win 2 majors this year. He only won the one this year, and he won the one in last August. However, like, the sky's the limit for this kid. Like, that's what's got to be next. He just was in Tokyo. He didn't win anything in Tokyo. It would really shock me to not see him be right up there in the mix come Sunday at Eastlake, when it comes down to the calculating and whatever weird handicapping they have of the scoring.
Yeah, no, Eastlake should be a great course for Colin as well. Good ball striker, of course. Jay, right?
So 21st Group's predictive model incorporates things like player trends, course fit, historical statistics, other factors. We project that Jordan Spieth will have the FedEx Cup lead heading into Eastlake narrowly over Colin Morikawa using all our different factors. No major championship this year for Spieth, but his consistent play could and should be rewarded. I'm going to go with Jordan Spieth to get another FedEx Cup victory, Jason.
All right. Well, my models and projections show that Jon Rahm is really good at golf. I don't have much else to go on other than, as I mentioned earlier, he said he's the most well-rested player in the field, which is very, very true. Did not get sick the second time he had COVID. So he's healthy. He's ready to go. He's motivated. This is what I like to call the Occam's razor play. I use this a lot, but sometimes the simplest answer is also the right answer. And I think that we tend to overthink these things a little bit. We all went with a couple of the favorites here, but I do think that at some point you just say Jon Rahm's the best player in the game. Jon Rahm's going to win the FedEx Cup. So he is my play for that. Let's get to our ultimate DFS lineup. We do it every week on the Links and Locks podcast. By the way, if you haven't checked out, downloaded, subscribed, rated the Links and Locks podcast, Justin Ray is going to come to your house and tell you bad stats and get you all thrown off your game. So you better do that immediately. We also have our models and tools on Fantasy Labs. Check them out every single week. All right, Amanda, you're up because you're always up. Go.
I am always up. Now, got to go back to the cookie jar from last. Is that an expression? Go back to the cookie jar? I don't know. But I'm going to go back to Brendan Grace. He's an absolute stud. He played well here in 2017 in the President's Cup team. And he's a ball striker. He had crazy strokes gain stats last week going into the event, and that's why I picked him. And look, he cashed for us. So I love Brendan Grace this week. I think South Africans have played well at this course in the past, and I think he's going to have a good week this week.
Cool.
Good price too.
Yeah, good price.
Very good price. I'm going to spend a little bit more money than you did and go with a guy I talked about earlier. Paul Casey's the PGA Tour leader this season in approach shot proximity from 175 out and further. That's going to be significant this week. Second on tour in strokes gained approach overall. Only Colin Morikawa is better. Also ranked second on the tour this season, scrambling from the rough. I mentioned how the scrambling from the rough is a little bit more tough on this golf course compared to the PGA Tour average. Give me Paul Casey as our second pick, Jason.
I'm going with the guy that I've mentioned already as well, but Jason Kokrak, I feel like he's getting left out of the Ryder Cup discussion just a little bit. We talk about these candidates to make the team who are outside the top 6 right now. Jordan Spieth feels like a lock. Patrick Reed is probably pretty close to a lock. Patrick Cantlay up there, Tony Finau, Billy Horschel, Kevin Kisner's getting a groundswell of support after winning in Greensboro. Jason Kokrak has won twice this season. He's exactly the kind of guy that I would love to see on the Ryder Cup team. Like I said, He's got some attitude. He's got some moxie. And I think that works well in Jersey. It would work well at Whistling Straits next month. And so I like Jason Kokrak to play well with a little bit of motivation going into the next couple of weeks. Amanda.
Yeah, I'm going to also go back to a guy I talked a little bit about earlier, and you also, Jason, Daniel Berger. Like we said, he's played well here before. He has the ball flight to work it just perfectly here at this windy event, or excuse me, this really windy course. So not much else needs to be said about Daniel Berger. I think this is a good event for him. He's one of those fiery guys that gets really excited when a lot's on the line. So I like Daniel Berger this week. Also decent price still.
Yeah, Justin.
Speaking of good price, I mentioned it earlier. I think Harris English is really undervalued. This is a guy who's a top 10 player in the world now. He's finished 4th or better in 3 of his last 4 starts. He nearly won a WGC a couple of weeks ago, and he's 8,800. I mean, it's a really good price for me. I like Harris English a lot. I think we need to put some respect on his name in regards to the Ryder Cup and all the different things that he's accomplished so far this season. So give me Harris English, 8,800. Gives you a little bit of money left to spend, Jason.
Yeah, I'm not going to spend all of it. I'm going to leave a little bit on the table. I will raise my hand and admit I did not like Adam Scott last week. He'd been basically mediocre for the entire season. He had 1 top 10 finish all season going into last week. I thought he's going to Greensboro. He's trying to find something. He hadn't played well in Greensboro. I didn't like anything about it. I was dead wrong. Adam Scott, if he could have made a 4-footer, he'd be coming to Northern Trust with a trophy in his luggage this week. Instead, he might be a little bit more hungry because he did miss that 4-footer on the first playoff hole and wound up just in a 5-way share of 2nd place last week. But I do think he needed a week like that to get those juices flowing again. I think he's probably got some confidence coming into this one. So that's Grace, Casey, Kokrak, Berger, English, Scott, ship it. All right, let's get to the betting wheel. We've got 6 players, as we mentioned, who are knocking on the door of that Ryder Cup, candidates who might be able to break through, at least, if not in that top 6, at least getting Captain Steve Stricker's attention for the U.S. team. Our super producer, Evan Abrams, is not here this week. He's on vacation, a well-deserved vacation. Instead, we've got super duper producer, Christina Ventura, to spin the wheel for us. Christina, are you ready?
I am ready. Are you guys ready?
Yeah,
I'm ready. We've upgraded this week.
we have.
All right, we're spinning.
All right.
All right, first up, we got Daniel Berger. Sobel, what do you think?
Favorite play on the board. I am all in on Daniel Berger, not just this week, but again, he's another guy that I would love to see on that Ryder Cup team. I mentioned it, 2-0-1 at the President's Cup in 2017, played some really solid golf. This is a kid who I've told the story before. I won't go through the whole thing, but back when he was 13 years old, his dad took him into the Dye Preserve to meet with the pro and said, "Hey, I think my kid's a decent golfer. Will you see what he's got?" And he went and hit some shots. They said, "Hey, let's go play some golf." And Daniel said, "Well, what are we playing for?" And this is a professional golfer. He looked at him and said, "Well, what do you want to play for, a 13-year-old?" He goes, "Let's do a little $20 closeout." And the guy said, "Are you okay with that?" And Daniel said, "Are you okay losing to a 13-year-old?" This kid's got so much attitude, so much moxie. I love it. And I think he would be great on the Ryder Cup team. So not only do I like him a lot this week, I like him to hopefully get onto that team for Steve Stricker as well.
Love it. All right, let's spin it again. Next up, we have Jordan Spieth. Amanda, what do you think?
So this doesn't really have anything to do with anything, but I was walking past Jordan today and he was talking to a security guy that was going to be walking with his group. And Jordan towered over this gentleman by about 2 feet. And I was like, I didn't realize it was Jordan, because I was telling Jason last time, like, Jordan just looks so short on television. Every time I see him, it's like he's a freaking giant. I'm actually going to, I'm going to buy Jordan this week. I think he has a chance to, play his way into Eastlake. And I think he also has a chance to play his way onto a Ryder Cup team. Like, he's such a good person to have in the room. He's, someone who's friends with everyone. Everyone wants to play with him. I mean, for God's sake, Patrick Reed thinks of like best friends. So I like Jordan Spieth a lot this week. And I do actually like him going forward, which I know wasn't really part of the question, but I'm going to copy Jason.
How do you measure golfers, Amanda?
By drives?
By height.
Okay.
It's from Caddyshack.
Oh yeah. I'm just
Christina, move us along.
Well, we'll move on.
Amanda,
all right, last one.
History book.
All right, Jay Ray, you got Kevin Kistner. Tell us how you feel.
Oh, okay. So coming off a big victory, kind of unexpected. Kevin Kistner didn't have great ball striking metrics going into the Wyndham Championship, but he showed us once again that this ain't no hobby. I'm going to go ahead and take Kevin Kisner. Maybe not for a win or a top 10, but I definitely could see him with a top 20 finish, trying to build on that momentum. You know he wants to be on that Ryder Cup team. The way he talks about it, it's clearly something he wants to add to his resume. I'm going to buy Kevin Kisner riding a little bit of a hot streak going into this first round of the playoffs.
3 buys. We're all buying the candidates for the Ryder Cup team. I tell you what, if all these guys play well, we're going to have some fun conversations over the next few weeks. Christina, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
All right, we just got a minute left here on the show. Let's talk long shots, but long shots maybe a little bit different variety than we often talk about on the show. Not just guys with big odds, but guys who are outside the top 70 and trying to get into that top 70 for the BMW Championship next week at Caves Valley. Justin, who you got that's going to move on and get through into that top 70 barrier?
This guy hasn't been called a long shot probably in about 20 years, but I've got Adam Scott. Should have won last week. Won on this golf course in 2013. Finished in 5th place in 2019. 7 straight rounds of par or better entering this tournament. Ranked 3rd in the field to win a championship in strokes gained approach. Give me Adam Scott.
Amanda.
I'm going to go with Brian Gay. I'm going to go with good old Gator. You know, he's kept his tour card for 20 flipping years. I just, he managed to get a win in Bermuda last year. I think he can make it these. You never know.
Analysis. I'm gonna go with
hashtag analysis.
I'm gonna go Dylan Fratelli. I mentioned Heath Slocum won here 12 years ago. He was number 124 on the FedEx Cup points list going into that one. Dylan Fratelli is 122nd this time around, but he plays well in these big events. Really, he's had 4 good finishes this season. 2 of them were at majors, 1 at a WGC, and 1 at the Players Championship. So I like the fact that he plays some of his best golf when the big boys show up, and hopefully he can do that again this week. Thank you to everybody out there for watching this episode of the Gimme presented by BetMGM. Catch all of our content on Golf Bet this week. We've got a ton of it, plus the next few weeks, all our FedEx Cup content. For Amanda Rose, for Justin Ray, I'm Jason Sobel. Good luck with all your bets for this week's Northern Trust. Here's hoping you hit the green.